is your favorite coach, Coach Jeffrey. I have another amazing guest here today. I have my man, Arturo Guajardo. Welcome to the show, Arturo.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you having me. I'm excited to be here, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about ISTE, so I'm very excited about ISTE coming up. I can't believe it's already here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we get started, let's tell our listening audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure, absolutely. So live in Texas. I live in Austin, Texas. Grew up in Houston. My education background, I was actually a English learner growing up. My first language is Spanish. Was able to become a teacher starting in 1993. So I'm aging myself here. I'm a little bit. I think that's 31 years ago, something like that. So I taught in a bilingual classroom for 10 years, and then moved on into the EdTech department in the district and supported teachers with EdTech integration. My focus was always on English learners and using technology to support English language learners. So I was able to take my background as a student and as a teacher, and then help teachers with utilizing technology to help those students. From there, went on into the EdTech world on the side of helping teachers and educators all over using technology tools. So I went to work for BrainPop, and I went to work for Osmo, and now I'm at Pocketalk, where I am helping students and teachers with their translation needs all over the country, which is super exciting for me.
Gotcha. You know, I just had a conversation with my wife. She said I shake my head so much, but I'm just really agreeing with some of the stuff that you said. You said that you are a native Houston, Texas, so you grew up in Houston. I'm currently in Houston, just formally working at the Houston Independent School District. So the need for the bilingual education. Can we talk? I know, but you just said something that really intrigued me. Growing up in Houston at the time in which you grew up, what was the struggle for an English language learner at that particular time, if I can ask that question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually a Houston ISD product from pre-K all the way up through high school. So yeah, Houston ISD is in my blood even today, is the way I look at it. So the struggle, I think often at that point, now we're talking here in the 1970s, mind you, there were very few that I knew of, at least, bilingual programs. I think at that point, if you spoke Spanish, you learned English pretty quickly. It was either sink or swim. And so the programs may have been out there in certain schools. I don't think they were in my school. And I was very much in a neighborhood where there were many Spanish speakers like myself. And then the other part that I do remember, in particular in elementary school, that I always thought was interesting, or that's for lack of a better word, was what would happen when a student would come in from, let's say, from Mexico, and didn't speak any English whatsoever, and what would happen to that student. And so as I got older, I kind of was able to watch that and observe what was happening to Armando when he came in to school now without speaking any English. And what normally would happen was that they would become my buddy, because in my classroom, I was the only Spanish speaker. So they would buddy him up with me. And so I was kind of his helper, his guide, his translator, till he was ready to go off on his own. And mind you, that was tough. That was not only tough on him, because I wasn't the best translator in the world. I was 10, 11, 12. It was tough on me. I remember it being tough on me. I remember being exhausted because I was having to think in Spanish and speak in Spanish, and then try to listen extra hard because it was up to me to translate for my friend here. So that tends to be the memory that sticks out, is just sink or swim, and then help your buddy next to you that might need it. And that's kind of how it went for me. For most of my education in Houston.
So, and I know you started in Houston. We don't want to pick on that particular school district. However, as I was an administrator in several school districts, I see that that's still the practice in some places. And so that leads me into the question is, what is Pocketalk? And how would it help to alleviate that type of learning environment for students?
Sure, absolutely. So Pocketalk, we provide translation solutions for not just for schools, but we provide it for hospitals, for city governments, state governments. We're being used in polling stations and in industry. We're in manufacturing. We're being used out in the oil fields all over Texas in particular. But in what Pocketalk does is we provide a translation device and a supporting software that can be used really with any student that comes into a school who needs that initial translation help. And so, what I was doing for Armando, now you can do with a handheld device that looks like this. It's a brilliant solution in that you're freeing up the human translators to do their job. We know that there's a particular need for this type of service because you can't always have a human translator there to meet every translation need. You can't always call the translation line and have them be available. So this device fits the need of everything in between. So a student can carry it, teacher can carry it, the principal can carry it, school nurse, cafeteria, bus driver, you name it, they can wear it around their neck. And then now I can have conversations in 84 different languages and then have the students or the parents talk back with me and have that two-way conversation because this device will handle both languages back and forth. Gotcha.
And so you said 84 different languages that translates. I have a question. Does it translate Urdu?
Urdu is in here. Let me show you how this works here. So here's the translation list there. I just pulled up Urdu.
Okay.
Right. Gotcha. You see how it's checked there. And then when I hit OK, I now have English and Urdu. I'm going to click this arrow so that now I can speak in English and it'll translate it over into Urdu for me. I press and hold the button and just start talking. And you're seeing it. There's the translation, and you just heard the translation. So you can read it, you can listen to it, and now the Urdu speaker can now talk back to me, and I'll be able to understand them as well.
So the device is listening for the response to what shows on the screen?
There's a button down here at the bottom. It's hard to tell on the screen. But if you hold that button, I call it the walkie-talkie button. So think of whenever you've used a walkie-talkie and you have to hold it down to start talking and then you release when to stop. So same thing here. You press that button, hold it, talk, and then when you're done, let go. And then the translation happens right after that.
Gotcha. I totally understand that. And I got so much to share on this situation right now. I got two stories that just popped in my mind about how this is needed. So I do have a question that we need to why do you think that teachers and students need this in today's classroom?
So I just think that there's an immense need for, let's start with the teachers. So when you think about the beginning of the day for the teachers, I kind of like to think of it at bell just rang, students are lining up to come in the classroom and you're ready to roll, you're ready to get started. And I love seeing the videos of the teachers who have the greeting at the front at the school at the classroom door where they're doing the fist bump or the high five, or they're doing the dance that they've come up with for each student, and just how important that greeting is every morning. I just saw a study about how that morning greeting that happens at the classroom door not only helps with student attention and keeping them engaged, but it also helps with student behavior. That one act seems to reduce the number of misbehaviors in a classroom. And so I always think of that when I think of, okay, how do I greet my student who speaks Urdu when I don't speak Urdu. And I had that situation as a teacher, not with the student, but with the parents of a student who only spoke Urdu. I handled all the Spanish, no problem. I can handle all my Spanish speakers, but that one Urdu speaker couldn't do much for him. So I would have loved to have had this Pocketalk device to help me start that relationship in the morning that, carries you through the day, carries you through the month, carries you through the year, when you can have those tight relationships that really make a difference for students. And then think about the student who's come in, that newcomer, that Armando that comes in that doesn't know any English, and they're kind of just passively sitting in the classroom sometimes for months. I mean, imagine half the year a student might sit in your classroom not being able to participate, not being able to ask questions, not being able to show you what they know. So many students come to this country as newcomers and they have so much knowledge, so much to share, and they just can't do it. And so what happens? Well, if you had them a Pocketalk, then there's your solution. Now I can tell you what I'm feeling. I can tell you what I'm thinking. I can tell you what I know. That makes such a huge difference for those students. Just to be heard is just vital. So just in those senses, this Pocketalk is an amazing tool. And then think about the parents as well. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about parents, but we know that how important parents are. And if we can get them engaged and welcome them to school, oh boy, that makes a huge difference. So if we can bridge that with the Pocketalk, hey, why not? It's a tool that's going to pay for itself over and over again.
I don't really normally get into cost, but I have some use cases where you guys will be just like totally, definitely, in it. So I want to share. I normally let the people talk before I share, but I was in the classroom, traditionally in the inner city of a particular school district, and I'm in this classroom, and the teacher said, I have English language learners. Now, previously at my previous school district, that means that was a Spanish speaker. This lady had 5 different languages of students in her classroom, and doing the best that she could, she was trying to teach them. And I saw specifically the students who spoke Urdu. I'm probably not saying it properly, but those students, they were compliant. They were listening, but we all knew that they didn't know what was going on, and they were trying to figure it out. And just like you said, the one kid who could speak a little bit, he was translating and trying to help everybody in the group. It was 5 of them. And I left there feeling so sorry for their teacher. I felt so sorry for those students because they're coming to school, they're there, and I felt sorry for the young man that was translating because he was trying to do the best he can. And, then they started acting up because, they laugh because he missed it. And so now the teacher, we're in the room and the teacher is like, come on, guys, I need y'all to focus. And so that solves so many different problems, dude, with that one simple device. I need to give it away for free.
I wish I could, trust me, because I know the need is out there. So much need. Just like you mentioned, think about all those learning activities that rely on conversation, right? Think about those learning activities, turn and talk. If I'm doing debate, if I'm doing Socratic circle or think, pair, share, so many of our teaching strategies rely on students talking, rely on students communicating. And what happens to those students when they can't speak English and people don't speak Urdu or the other classmates don't speak Urdu? Well, they just kind of sit there and it just seems like a waste to me. So yeah, we can definitely help there.
Yeah, most definitely. So I started teaching at the time, it was Jefferson Davis High School was my school where I learned how to teach. I loved that near North Side. I don't know if you were anywhere near there, but
I grew up about 5 minutes away.
Okay,
I'm from the North Side.
Good. All right, then. So, so the thing is, in elementary schools, how can that be helpful for an elementary student to help on the tail pass, and they have to, with all of the tests that they have to take in order to become, advanced high and all of those things. How can that machine help schools with that population of students?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, specifically to testing, there's definitely certain rules that would limit the use of this device. What I'm thinking in terms of an English learner, there's a pronunciation practice that's built into this device. So I could literally talk into it in Urdu or in Spanish, get the translation in English. The translation will pop up just like it did when I showed you a few seconds ago. And then I can click it and practice my pronunciation of that English phrase that was just translated. And this device will let you know if you're pronouncing what words you got correct, what words you maybe need to work on. So there's a little bit of speech practice that you can do there. It'll serve as a simple dictionary, translation, or multilingual dictionary. So I can say the word cat, and I'll know that, oh, that's gato in Spanish, or vice versa, right? So you can do just basic translations without having to pull out a dictionary, without having to know how to even spell the word. I can now translate it because I can say the word, right, using this device. One other feature that I always like to point out is that there is a built-in camera on the back here. It's kind of hard to see, but that's a camera. I can use that camera to take pictures of text from a worksheet or from a textbook. And that text now gets translated on my screen, and I can read it in my heritage language. Or if I'm a younger student, maybe I can't even read my heritage language. I can then click that translation on the screen, and it'll read it out loud. So it doesn't just work through voice. You can actually use printed text as well to translate from. So just think in those terms. Think in terms of just social. Just general social conversations out in the classroom, out in the playground, in the library, in the hallway. I can now have those because I have this device. And the other exciting part to me is just thinking about that Spanish speaker and that Urdu speaker. Now those two can communicate. It doesn't necessarily even have to be in English. English doesn't have to be involved. But now I have students communicating with each other from all over the world. Getting to know each other, and to me that's invaluable. So many ways to use this device. It's hard to even pinpoint.
True multilingual classroom. I think it would be beneficial.
Exactly.
It'll definitely make worldwide learners out of all of us. Okay, so I'm sold. I need to purchase 1 million of them. How long does the battery? How long does the battery last?
I can help you with that. So think of it like a phone. A phone. If you're using it a lot, probably going to charge it overnight. Get it ready for the next morning. If you're using it sporadically, turning it off, and when you're not using it, you can turn it off and turn it back on when you're ready to use it. I've had batteries last, up to a week sometimes, just because I'm only using it here and there, here and there, here and there. So think of it like you would a phone. And it comes with a USB-C charger that plugs in here, plug it into the wall. So you'll have everything you need to be able to charge it at will.
Okay. Do you guys sell those individually, or do you sell them as class sets?
We do both. You can buy one if you want, but ideally what we recommend is you buy them in bulk because that can bring the price down a little bit. And then you can have more of a better implementation because it's not just one person using it. You have multiple people using it, and they can kind of show each other how they're using it. So that tends to be the model I recommend. At the very least, I recommend you buy something for the front office so that when that parent comes in, we can have that initial conversation be a good conversation, a quality conversation that keeps them coming back. And then you put them in the hands of the staff that work with the multilingual students. So your classroom teachers, your librarians, your PE coaches, your nurse. These devices are HIPAA compliant, so you can practice. You're protecting privacy when you're having conversations. And exciting thing for us for ISTE is that we're going to be announcing our new FERPA and COPPA compliance that we've just received. So we'll be able to make sure that if you're having conversations that need to be kept private, we're helping you with that when you use this device.
Okay, so the privacy on it will then definitely be acceptable for a K-12 environment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and it's already being used all over the country. We have users in the New York City Department of Education. They're probably our biggest single use case. They're in about 400 schools in the New York City DOE, across to San Diego, Florida, Texas, Ohio, Washington, you name it. It's getting used all over the country right now for schools and any sort of educational setting.
Gotcha. So do you have to purchase the device with the software? Does the software get updated, or how does that work?
So the software on the device does get updated. We run updates about 4 or 6 times a year, and as long as you have the device on Wi-Fi, it'll run the update. It'll prompt you. You hit yes, you're good to go. The other software that we offer, the supporting software called Ventana, and that software is great for collecting usage data. So I can now find out how much is Urdu being used in my classroom? How much is Spanish being used in my classroom? Is there a new language that's being used in my classrooms that I need to start maybe thinking about assigning some staff to support that particular language? So you'll get usage data for your tech team. You'll get some device management tools that'll help them get the devices onto Wi-Fi and to keep the devices more secure. So that is a separate add-on subscription. You don't have to have the Ventana management system to use the devices. You could just use as many of these as you want. The management system just helps when you're deploying a large amount.
Wonderful. That's excellent. And the rollout to the kids who get them, what does that training look like for students?
What I showed you when I literally selected my languages and clicked the button, that's virtually the training right there. It's very simple to use. There's no, there isn't much that this device does beyond translating. It does translating extremely well, and I'll keep that in mind, but that's kind of all it does. So there's no need to worry about anything else when it comes to training. And there's no need to worry about handing this to a student because there's no browser on here. They can't use it for anything other than translation. So I know that there's been a recent spike in the number of cell phone bans that are happening across the countries in schools. And oftentimes schools will rely on phones for translation assistance. But if phones are out of the picture, then I think you're going to need something like this to help meet the needs that are there.
That is an amazing tool. Again, I'll take 5 million and we'll give them all the Texas students to get it for free. Anybody?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just think about all the conversations that go untranslated. I always think of that because, there's certainly a place for human translators and a place for the translation lines. But I would say, I don't know, 95% of the conversations that happen in school are kind of impromptu. They're in the hallway, they're in the classrooms. You're not going to call a language line for those, right? You're not going to call a language line to teach a student how to play kickball or tell a student that, hey, a fire drill is coming up, so this is what a fire drill is. You're safe. Just know that this is what we're doing. You can't call a phone line for that. You can't call in a human translator all the time for that. So many of these conversations that should happen aren't happening. And you kind of think of what's the cost of those untranslated conversations. And that's where we come in. That's where we can help.
You hit the nail on the head because school is so much more than instruction. And although a lot of us focus on accountability and that type of thing, the social emotional learning for those students, especially students who come from another country in ways just to get here, those conversations that are not being had and the social emotional that happens in those kids, we really need it. We definitely need something like this.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to tell a story. This is kind of a sad story, but it's a true story. An educator in New York told me about a student from Ukraine that had just come to the United States and was enrolled at their school. And that particular day, they're going to have a fire drill. And imagine a student from Ukraine who probably has never been involved in an American-style fire drill, all of a sudden hearing a siren go off in their school, and nobody had been able to tell the student what that meant, what it was, that he was going to be safe, that this was just practice. We take that for granted because we've been doing fire drills forever, right?
Yes.
This student didn't know what was happening. And the words that the educator told me, he said the student freaked out. And, that we're just kind of stacking trauma on top of trauma, when we do that to students. So just think about that, the cost of not having that conversation and what that costs that student on that particular day. And I think if we can avoid that, I mean, this is, like I said, pay $1 million for this, it's worth it.
It's most definitely worth it. And I want to share one more sad story. I had a student who received a full ride to University of Texas. Her name was Natalie Guajardo.
No way.
Yeah, she had a full ride, but she was a very brilliant student. But her parents came over through the border, and when she was 5, she was diagnosed with cancer. And so, because she went to school, the doctors were talking to her, and she had to translate to her parents that she had almost a terminal form of cancer at 5 years old. And so, I again, let's just get them devices out. So, hey, let's go ahead and, I don't know who's listening to this, but we pretty wide. Hey, I need you guys to buy this device, okay, and give it to every student who needs it.
Yeah. Think about the wraparound service, just being able to give one to the parent, and then they can take it on to the doctor's appointment, or to the DMV when they need to get their driver's license renewed. Yes. It can just make a huge difference for kids. And that's a tough conversation. Wow.
Yes. Arturo, man, hey, well, look. It's been great talking to you, sir. I am going to ISTE. I'm going to be glad to be there again. Have you been before?
All right. I have. This will be my 21st ISTE. I've been to many ISTEs. Yeah. I've been going since 1998.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. You're an old school ISTE guy. Okay.
I'm a veteran of ISTE. Yes, I'm a big fan, and I'm still excited. It still excites me every year just to know that I'm going to go to ISTE and see all the excitement and the teachers and all the great presentations and the exhibit hall that's just crazy massive. And it really gets my energy going. It's just something that I wish everybody could experience. That every educator should get to ISTE at least once. Most
definitely. What booth are you guys going to be at?
So we are in booth 1297, 1297. If you go up the main hallway in the exhibit hall, we're going to kind of be a little bit past the middle on the right side. So keep an eye out for us. We're going to be speaking in Japanese and Chinese and Spanish. We're going to have some coffee. So definitely stop in and grab some coffee and have a conversation. And like we say, welcome to the conversation with Pocketalk. Bienvenidos a la conversación.
That's excellent. And where can our listening audience find you guys at for those who want to purchase the device?
You can definitely go to Pocketalk.com. You'll get all the information there if you want to just learn more about the device. If you need help from me, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm Arturo at Pocketalk. So it's Arturo at Pocketalk. And remember, Pocketalk just has one T, Pocketalk.com.
Okay. Thank you so much, Arturo. We sure appreciate you speaking with us, and you have a great day.
Thank you, Coach Jeffrey. I look forward. I hope we see each other at ISTE, and come by the booth, please.
Most definitely. For coffee, most definitely.
Yeah, come by. We'll have coffee for you for sure.